A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as Maritzburg United played against Kaizer Chiefs in a game that ended 1-0 in favor of Kaizer Chiefs, just like how I predicted. So, when you go into the post-match analysis, then the blue side will represent Maritzburg United and then the red team will represent Kaizer Chiefs. So, coming up into this encounter then, Maritzburg United under Ernst Midderndorp are a team that tend to adopt various formations and tactical shapes, but within this game they did start with a 4-4-2 and what was very interesting then about their 4-4-2 within the first half was the inverted fullbacks. However, in goals, they had Engelhardt, who started in goals, as the back four. At left back, they did start with Nazir Ali, and then the two centre backs, they started with Unchangase and Dengane, and then at right back, they went with Keagan Ritchie. So I must say then that I was more impressed with Unchangase's performance. I thought he was solid at the heart of defence. I just think that then the minute that this Maritzburg United side go to sleep is when Kaizer Chiefs then score that goal through the set piece within the second half. Otherwise, throughout the game, they were quite solid and Kaizer Chiefs couldn't really penetrate and break them down. Within the second half, we did see Ritchie going to the left and then Nazir Ali going to the right. And I think then he starts with the inverted fullbacks by virtue of the fact that Kaizer Chiefs do go with the inverted wingers. So you'd have Keagan Dolly, who starts off the right, who's always looking to cut in. So whenever he would look to cut in, he'd be cutting onto Nazir Ali's strong foot, which is his right foot. And then on the left-hand side, you'd have Bernard Parker. Whenever he'd cut in, he'd be cutting onto Keagan Ritchie's left foot. So that was quite interesting then from Ernst Midderndorp. Moving on then right along within the heart of midfield, they started with Uzugile Kewuti and Graham. Very, very impressed then by Kewuti. I think then, from my perspective, one of the better players within the match. And yeah, I think he's a very, very good player for this Maritzburg United side. Very comfortable on the ball. And he was then that player then who was able to progress that ball within the heart of midfield for this Maritzburg United side. He would take care of the ball very well. And also love the fact that very energetic, he goes box to box, and he's such a fighter for this Maritzburg United side. And then off the left-hand side, they did start with Uhlongwane, and I think Uhlongwane was very good, especially within the first half. That is Uhlongwane. And I think in the first half, Uhlongwane was the best player on the pitch, and I think that he should score that goal. He gets into that area, and instead of having the header on goal himself, he's looking to place it back for Sekuna, but then he doesn't find him. That moment there is a moment where Maritzburg United should go 1-0 up. And he found so much joy throughout the game, especially within the first half, as I think that he also had a very good performance for this Maritzburg United side. And then when we have a look at the right-hand side, Dylan Clausen did start off the right-hand side. So at times he would drift out wide, but it was a very narrow midfield four, as without the ball, then they were looking to stifle Kaizer Chiefs and be very compact. Not that Kaizer Chiefs had much of the ball, you know, and even then when Kaizer Chiefs did try to progress the ball within the heart of midfield, this Maritzburg side did very well then in managing the spaces and limiting then those pockets. And what then is very good about this Maritzburg United side under Ernst Midderndorp is that they compress the field, and the distance then between the defense and the forward line players, you know, the distance is quite marginal, and they don't offer too many spaces in between each other for teams to play through them. And then when we have a look then up front, they did start with Zuma and Sekuna. So Maritzburg United then, I would say that first half they really found the joy, as they were the better team. They were a lot more comfortable and they were a lot more in control, even though at times it was a high intensity encounter. You know, I just think that Maritzburg United will rue the missed chances, because first half, I think that they should at least go into the break 1-0 up, because they did create chances where they should have put those chances away, but they just couldn't within the first half. Within the second half, they do institute changes. However, the tempo and intensity dropped off. And from a qualitative perspective, it wasn't really a good footballing encounter from both sides, as Maritzburg United then go 1-0 down by virtue of that well-worked set piece by the front three of Kaizer Chiefs in Keagan, Dolly, Bernard Parker, and Billiat. And the only positive I could say then from this Maritzburg United side in the second half is how Rowan Human comes on, and he had an impact. He had 2 shots on target, and he was a player then who was looking then to change the game and get Maritzburg back into the game. However, unfortunately, Maritzburg United just couldn't claw their way back into the game. I think that from a qualitative perspective, the intensity dropped and they weren't as threatening within the second half. Going then to Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs started this game with a 4-3-3. In goals, they started with Daniel Agbe. At right back, they started with Mphahlele, 2 centre-backs of Mato and Cardoso, and then at left back, they did start with Frosla. So when you have a look then at this back four, especially within the first half, they were poor at times, and they didn't manage the space as well, as this Maritzburg United side were able to institute creative action, and they were able to create chances, but they were just not clinical enough on the day. And disappointed then not to see Mashiane starting, especially considering the fact that Frosla starts as the left back. And the issue then I have with a right-footed player then who starts in vertical zone 1, especially in deep pockets of spaces, is that whenever then he does get the ball, his first instinct is always then to go onto his strong foot, which is his right foot. That is then not a progressive touch, because then a progressive first touch is taking it onto your back foot and then pushing it into space. So at times he did struggle. At times, whenever he was in a good position in advanced pockets of spaces to deliver across, he'd have to bring it first back onto his right foot. So I just think that that is a big issue. And I always feel that as a left back, you should start a left-footed player, because then he does give you more angles and more passing channels as well, especially then when he does open up in vertical zone 1. I would have started Frosla as the right back and then Mashiane at left back. I think that could have been better. And then when you have a look then going into the heart of midfield, yeah, very disappointed with the approach, because when you have a look at this midfield then, firstly, when you have a look at midfield, it's all about midfield personalities. Now, the midfield personalities within this midfield are too similar. All 3 players are very defensive-minded, which then leads to no verticality, no progression, no creativity, and no final third penetration as well. So when a midfield doesn't have those 4 components, it really, really lets the team down. And that's why Kaizer Chiefs just couldn't play, you know, because within the heart of midfield, they're a lot more reactive as opposed to proactive. And it's just a huge problem, because when you at least have a Ngobo and a Nange, the third midfielder should be a number 10. It should be a creative player who's looking then to pop up into the 2 half spaces, pop up in zone 14, look then to penetrate into the box and into the final third. A player who's well adept at that is Nkosimpile Ngobo. That's what he should be doing. So from a qualitative perspective then, within the heart of midfield, it was really poor. Kaizer Chiefs couldn't string passes together. You know, at times, the player who was much better then was Ngobo. Then whenever he'd win the ball for Kaizer Chiefs within the heart of midfield, it is a midfield that is set up then just to nullify. And yeah, very, very poor. I just think going forward then, Stuart Baxter should be a lot more tactically versatile, by virtue of the fact that he should be looking to bring on at least a creative player within the heart of midfield to offer that final third penetration, to offer that verticality, to offer that creativity, and to offer that ball progression into the final third. When you have a look at the front 3, I don't think it was a good day then for the front 3, bar the set piece then. That was well worked by this front 3 within the second half. I think that's where they did very well. So it is Keagan Dolly on the corner. So you had Keagan Dolly on the corner. you had Khama Billiat there, and then you had Bernard Parker. So how then it's instituted, Keagan Dolly plays it into Khama Billiat. Khama Billiat plays it first time, which is then a beautiful ball then, which is played into the box. Bernard Parker then pops up and he finishes it off. So that's what Kaizer Chiefs did really well. However, then within the second half, the tempo, the quality and the intensity of the game just dropped off, and it became a bit scrappy at times during the game. But the most important thing then for this Kaizer Chiefs side is that they do collect the 3 points. So Kaizer Chiefs then do win this game 1-0, and a positive then was Leonardo Castro coming off the bench, seeing him back from his long-term injury, and then also disappointed with Usikota because, yes, as much as he only had 15 minutes, I feel that there were times that he could have made an impact because he does get that chance where he is well on sight within goal, but a poor first touch where he couldn't control it. If he controls that and he looks to progress into the box, he could have actually looked to actually score there and put the game beyond Maritzburg United. At times he was rushed, bad first touch, bad decision making, and he just has to make use of his opportunities when he comes off the bench. Otherwise, it is then Kaizer Chiefs 1, Maritzburg 0. It is Dstv Premiership action as Kaizer Chiefs walk away with all 3 points at the Harry Gwala Stadium. An encounter then that started off very late because of power failure and the lights. Nonetheless, though, the match was contested, was played, which saw then Kaizer Chiefs walking away with the 3 points. It is Dstv Premiership action. Babi Zebonke signing out.